I believe it was 5 separate craft. That's some straight UFO shit right there.
That's when I started seeing all of the lights and the contact that I've been witnessing.
Kept filming and looking up at the sky, and it just started happening more frequently.
Look, what is that? What is that? What was that?
Just from Scotland, and you're watching Alien Strand podcast with Donald Ledesma.
Everybody, welcome to this episode of Alien Strand Podcast. I'm your host, Don Ledesma, and welcome to today's show. Well, I guess it's going to be an interesting one today. That's for sure. You know, I've been trying to get busy with, of course, on my projects. You guys know about that. You know, you can catch us on 26, 28 platforms right now of audio. We are live on audio right now, and you can catch us on YouTube, X, here on Facebook Live right now. Check us out here. You know, of course, if you're there, you're there, right? So, welcome to Alien Strand Podcast. I hope you guys are having an amazing day. I know it was a little warm down here in South Texas. You know, we tried to, just kind of keep that air conditioning nice and cold, right? Yeah, that's what we try to do around here. It's, even though we get 80 degrees out here, we're close to the 90s sometimes. The other day, it can really get kind of bothersome, when it does that. But, it's just kind of strange. The clouds are very strange looking up in the sky lately. I was looking at them this afternoon when I went to go pick up my boy from the gym. And you know what? I should be going to the gym too, right? I think I need to lose a little weight. Don't you think? Anyway, so I was looking up at the sky and I was like, man, that sky looks nice. But I think we're going to have that overcast down here in South Texas to where we're not going to be able to see that eclipse, that wonderful eclipse that, we've been waiting for, and kind of nail biter too at the same time, right? Yeah, because that's what we try not to scare the hell out of you, but everybody else is doing it for us anyways, right? So if you're on all these platforms like TikTok and Instagram and you're seeing all these just catastrophic things, man, that people are talking about that might happen, right? And it might. Hey, I don't know, I'm not the man upstairs, I don't know, or I'm not the universal creator of everything, but we just don't know what might happen out there, right? But Don't forget to catch our past podcast. My last one was called Solar Change. I talked about the solar eclipse, what was happening and just how it affects people around the world, right? And how it can affect you. And I talked about that. You can find it on Patreon. If you're watching on YouTube today, hey man, please hit a subscribe. We went ahead and put the middle part one, the first one, for free on there without no commercials. So you guys get to see it on there with no commercials for free. Give us a thumbs up. Please hit us the subscribe button there, and we'll really appreciate it, right? And then I did talk about Children of Aliens as well, right, on a past podcast. Very good podcast, man. I got a lot of information out there on the process of how DNA and how the cloning and how the abductions take place with people around the world, right? So today's podcast, right, CE5 connection. Now, why am I talking about CE5? Well, why not talk about CE5s? I just... it's one thing that, when it was made by Dr. Greer, right? Dr. Greer's he's the actual founder of the CE5 movement, right? So he's the one that started all of this on how to contact extraterrestrials and have these CE5 these sessions that you can do yourself, right? You don't have to pay anybody $1 million to do this. You can actually do it yourself. And, I wanted to talk about that a little bit today and kind of bringing the knowledge to everybody, right? And just a little bit of step-by-step guidance on how, the process starts, how it begins, and the middle of it, and then maybe the end result, right? Of what you get on the end result of the actual CE5. Now, there is an actual CE5 event happening. I believe one of our ASTP researchers is out there in South Carolina, North Carolina. They're having a CE5 event there today, over the weekend, I believe. So there will be a lot of that taking place as the solar eclipse, before it happens. They're going to do this before, during, and after, right? So they're going to see what the outcomes is going to be of their actual CE5, which is contact, right? So, and speaking of, so I wrote a small book. It's a small ebook. So you can find this on Amazon Kindle. Now, if you don't have a Kindle, it's okay. You can actually do your iPad. This is an iPad right here, right? You can actually get your iPad, download the Kindle app, and you can read it, right? You can read anything from Kindle on these apps. So you can do it on your phone. You can do everything like that. So if you have an iPhone, anything like that, and you don't have to have a Kindle, download the app and check out my books called CE5, Frequencies of Contact. It's now available on Amazon Kindle. Go check it out, and if you like it, give me some stars there. Tell me how you guys like it. If you enjoy the content on there. This book is basically going to be it's going to tell a little bit about myself, not much, but it's going to kind of give you a step-by-step and guidance and information of an actual CE5, right? Of what it is, and even the close encounters 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, right? So it's going to give you all the explanations in there. Everything you need to know about ufology is in there as well. But this has more of an open consciousness, right? Of something that you are going to, be able to use this in a session and open your mind, right? Because that's what it is. It's about opening your mind. Hi, Shannon. How you doing? Thank you for watching and listening out here tonight. And I hope you guys are listening live. We are actually live on Spreaker right now on the audio. And if you're listening on out there, thank you guys for listening. And be safe on the road for you truck drivers and all the people out there that are making this world go round, because we couldn't do it without you guys, right? Don't forget the Middle Tetralogy, Part 1, Part 2. Oh, guess what? So I finally submitted Part 2. Guess where? Amazon Prime. Yeah. So be expecting that on Amazon Prime here. I know I've been saying that for a while now. It's kind of a broken record, and I feel like that, and I feel awful for saying it. But guess what I had to do? Sometimes when you want to do something, you got to do it yourself, man. I had to pull it from my distributor, and I said, you know what? I'm going to do this myself, and I did it myself. So, this film is going to be out on Amazon Prime. I'll let you know once it pops out. It should be out in a week or two now, so it's not going to take very long. I've already submitted it. It's being overlooked, and it'll be up on Prime, right? And after that, you'll be seeing Part 3 a few months later, and then the final The middle, part 4, will be out in the late fall. Okay, so kind of be prepared for that as we're just expecting what's going on, right? So don't forget, we were talking about our ASDP representatives out there that are actually representing Alien Strand Disclosure Project. Check them out there. And, they are working hard for giving everybody disclosure out here every day, right? Because there's no I in team. I can't do without them, man. I can't do without them. Neither can you guys, right? So, without further ado, let's just kind of talk about this a little bit, of the understanding of the actual CE5 and the CE5 events of what it is, right? And, basically it's what you're trying to do to people that don't know what it is. There's a lot of folks out there that actually don't know. They call me the UFO guy, right? A lot of people just know me who I am. I'm a musician. I do everything, but I'm the UFO guy, and there's a lot of new people on my pages, and I want to kind of give you guys an introduction of what this stuff is, right? C5 is connection, right? It's a connection of a mass connection of individuals who want to connect, right? This photo was actually brought to you by Mr. Robert out there, one of our ASDP representatives, and I'm putting his name out there. Hey, thank you, my brother. So, we when we try to make the connection, it's basically either a lot of people or one-on-one, right? And you have to go through some kind of a process in order to make connection. Now, a lot of people do make connections with extraterrestrials on a regular basis, on a one-on-one basis, right? And some people don't need CE5. And CE5 is just a meditational process, right? What you're trying to do is you're trying to get your mind in a straight, narrow, kind of open-mindedness, right? And putting yourself and your subconscious self into a passivistic, very passive, very calm state of mind, right? In other words, before you start to CE5, which you can do outside, you can do it outside, you can do it inside from your house, kind of looking out the window, but you have to have absolutely zero distractions, right? Zero distractions. In other words, you can't have your phone, kind of taking pictures at the same time. When you're doing a C5, and if you want to do one by yourself, that is possible. Get yourself something to record yourself or what's happening around you. If you can't, if somebody's there, they're not going to participate, they're just going to record, have somebody do that as well. And then that helps out as well for the data, right, that we're trying to get. But when you're trying to get yourself in that calm state, make sure that there's no pets around you, right? And because they're distractions. All those are distractions. Children. Oh, mommy, daddy. Those are distractions. Get away from all that if you can. So, in other words, plan your CE5 meditation accordingly to however you can do this process yourself, right? Or with a bunch of people, which is great. With a bunch of people. No distractions, right? Because you want to make sure that you are in a state of mind of your consciousness and subconsciousness is in a calm state of mind, right? Clear your thoughts. In other words, what I'm just trying to say. Nothing. Don't think of nothing. Don't think of work. Don't think of your problems. Don't think about, I just got to stop smoking tomorrow. Don't think about nothing. Just think about what you're going to do and think about the connection of these celestial beings that you're trying to get a hold of, right? Basically, you are making this phone call. You are actually sending the signal to them, right? If you've never had this kind of contact before, right? This is your first time, remember, you're making the phone call. This is what I call it. This is what I say in my book. You are actually making this phone call. So, as you're doing this, just make sure, like I said, be calm. And there is going to be distractions, right? As these things are happening, right? And Facebook user says, maybe we shouldn't do this. Maybe you shouldn't. I know it's up to folks who can and who can't, right? Who can do this. But solar flares can actually be a disruption, right? You don't see these things in a visual through your eyes. You can't see them. It's very hard to see these solar flares. You might maybe wear some UV glasses. And I'm not talking about during the eclipse or anything like that. We're constantly getting hit with solar flares, right? So if you have a chance, go to these websites where you can see enigmatic, effects of the solar flares and the electronic magnetic fields that they're pushing towards the Earth, right? The actual moon is actually deflecting a lot of this stuff, right? So you have to think about that too, right? And then we're getting the mass ejection, what Terry was talking about. After the moon moves out of the way, we're going to get hit solid with this stuff, right? So solar flares will cause electronic magnetic meditation, remember, disruptions. So just kind of remember, if you're going to do this, kind of look forward and look ahead, right, of what's how the atmosphere will be that day or that evening, right? So these are things to think about as you're doing the CE5. And there's, like I said, there's a lot of events that are happening tonight, tomorrow, all over the United States, actually. But right now we know of North and South Carolina are actually having these events that are happening. So as you start meditating and you put yourself in this calm state of mind, remember that the human being, our aura, our what we have as we actually have an electronic magnetic field around us as well, right? Our brains, everything has electronic magnetic signatures, right? That comes out of our bodies, right? And we do have that the resonance, right? Which I talked about before, which is the frequencies, right? So make sure that you are in contact with your own frequencies. How do you do that, man? How do you figure out the frequencies that you're going to be in contact with yourself, right? And that's where meditation starts, right? You do the meditation, you get that going, and you have to do at least 30 minutes, 20 minutes before you start this full process of clearing your thoughts and mind before you even start the CE5. That way, you know that things are going to be that you probably will see something out there, right? And you gotta go forward, right? So what are the frequencies that make you understand of what our bodies are resonating? And there is actually one frequency, I believe it's 40 hertz, right? And 40 hertz puts us in a, if you listen to this frequency, it's a low frequency. It's gonna actually put you in this weird state of mind, right? But you got to remember, when you're practicing this, that you are actually going to use these frequencies, right? So when you use these frequencies, make sure that of course you can use your Bluetooth, things like that, but have somebody turn these frequencies on for you. And 40 hertz is one, and I'll let you guys listen to this one. This is 40 hertz, and this is the sound it's going to make to kind of help you resonate, right? So here, let's listen to this real quick. That's a pretty low frequency. If you really think about it, it's like really low, right? So you can listen to something like that in your headphones, and that frequency is actually it gives you a better state of consciousness, state of almost like a soothing. It puts you in a different mode, right? In other words, like where you're able to remember when I talked about being an antenna. Well, you're going to be able to receive these signals a little bit better with using that frequency as it's playing in the background. Now, I don't know if you hear my dogs going off. I have these only set up in my headphones, and that tone right there actually made my dogs outside kind of freak out right now. And like I tell you, it's but it's for us, it's a healing kind of consciousness, puts us in a calm state and an open mind frequency. That's 40 hertz. Now they do drop lower than that. Remember, it goes from 20 to 20, right? And then that's our audible signals that we can receive from these actual frequencies, right? Now, somebody did an actual CE5, right? But with a visual kind of illuminated lighting frequency, to where they were, after this CE5 was actually attempted in Japan, right? So they did this CE5 event using light, right? And what they did was they used this kind of illuminating light, like different flashes. So if you guys got like seizures, don't watch this, but I know you guys are listening, you can't really hear it, but this is going to be the sequencing that they used. And then after that, they said they were able to see a CE5 event unfold in front of them after using this sequence. So let me show you this real quick. And this is going to be the actual visual sequence. All right. So watch this. All right, so with that, they were able to actually experience a CE5 after that whole thing unfolded. And I'll put the links to this music and things that you're going to be using in the background as these CE5 events that you try doing yourself, right? And I mean, all this is out there for you guys to use, and it's free out there, man. You can just kind of research it, and you'll be able to see it yourself, right? So usually, like I was talking about, you free your mind, clear your thoughts, no distractions, and make sure that when you're doing this, that, like I said, you have no distractions whatsoever if you want a positive outcome, right? Because this is what's going to happen with the positive outcome of the actual CE5, right? So make sure that you're doing that, calm state of mind, man. It's what I always think about. Don't try not to drink too much caffeine. It'll make you, kind of overthink things sometimes, and it might kind of throw you a little edgy, right? So just kind of be careful on the caffeines. Use calming stuff. There's like juices. I know there's juices out there and that you can drink and kind of calms you down. If you're like a nervous person or whatever, if you want to try it, then yeah, use those, or your medicinal, you know what I'm trying to say, right? The other stuff, that you want to use. Hey, you try it. I don't know, but you might. We have a person out there says, Livowitz Tone is his name. It says, I did that. I see ghosts in my home. Went through a wall. Also attract UFOs looking for who's calling out for them. I see them. He says, I was looking out the window. See, and this was what I was talking about earlier. You can actually see them. You don't have to necessarily be outside, but outside is the best if you want to do this, right? So, and then, of course, I talk about sky watching in the meditation, because that's where most people want to be. They want to be on the out there, right? They want to be watching these things as it unfolds, to their visionary eyes, right? You want to make sure that you're in a good state of mind, and you turn on these channels. There's a few channels on YouTube. You go there and just post, look for CE5, contact music, right? And you're going to get a bunch of them out there, man. And you can use that music because they got signals and all kinds of things that you can see what's best and what works for you, right? Because remember, everybody's different. We're all different. And they might not be attracted to that frequency with yours, right? So you got to have to make sure that you're able to match that as best as you can. Use the one that's going to give you the best outcome. In other words, what I'm trying to say, right? Just like anything else out there. And when you're doing that, just whichever one works for you, save it on your saves list, right? Or your favorites, on your playlist, whatever, on Spotify, SoundCloud. There's a bunch out there, man, that you can actually find for CE5ing. And when you're doing this and in the meditation, everything that you're trying to do, it'll actually, it'll help you, make contact a little bit better, right? Because you're putting yourself in this deeper state of mind. Your train of thought is just focused on contact, right? And when you're just saying it is just saying hello, you start meditating these things. You could say them out loud if you want to, are you out there, show yourself, things like that, things that, you actually see on a lot of these paranormal spiritual things that they do out there. It's basically the same concept, but you are using a different frequency to get into that realm, right? Into that deeper realm, right? In the universal realm, what I'm trying to say. So, and those frequencies is what you're trying to tap into right away, right? So, and it just kind of tells you that, that when you do this, there's, as we all believe that there is life out there, there's different civilizations out there that might actually be making some kind of contact with you, right? And that is a strong possibility that these things are occurring, right? As we're making contact. Now, you know how I just talked about, once you see these orbs in the sky, sometimes you'll see orbs, you'll see like possibly a UFO, you'll see something go across the sky. Now remember, you can use lasers as long as you don't point them at aircraft. Do not. We don't recommend you pointing the laser directly to the orb or directly to any piece that's out there that's trying to make contact with you, because you don't know if you're hitting an airplane yet, unless you got the apps to really judge what you're trying to shoot the laser at, right? And that's really a big no-no. It's against the law. They'll come and arrest you instantly, right? So you don't want to. You don't want to do that. So just make sure you have those nice aircraft, apps so that's not an airplane going over, and just go in front of it, behind it, around it. Don't hit it directly. And I'm going to show you, this is from the Ascetti Ranch. Here's a video, and they made actually contact. They asked it, to kind of show yourself and respond. And this is what it did. Let's watch this.
Ask this one to power up. Send it nice thoughts.
Power up, guys.
Power up. Whoa! That was nice.
It disappeared.
What? That's all on video. You know that? The audio, everything is on there.
Power up.
Love it.
All right. So you see there, you get the logistics of what they did, and as they were making contact. This was at the Ascetti Ranch. Some people are not fully successful, and don't feel bad if you're not successful all the way. Just and when you're doing this as well, and just keep doing it. It can be the next day, then kind of meditate on it, think about it before you do it, and just make sure you always have somebody to record the data. Right? It's important for you to do that. Now, the reason I talked about that is because, a lot of people, the way I talked about in my film, seeing is believing, right? And the best way to do it is do a live session or a live recording or somebody snapping photos. As long as it's not too distracting and they're quiet behind you as they're rolling film. Now, these days you can't hear the film. These shutter speeds are really low. You can't hear any of this, right? So when somebody's filming, just make sure they're filming the whole event, because once you play back, you don't know what you're going to get, right? You might have got something that you didn't see visually or hear with your audible ears, right? And the contact that you're going to make is not always, like I said, going to be successful, but just keep trying. It's not a bad thing if you don't, right? And I've talked about this before as well, right? You saw the people when they manifested the contact, right? They were talking to it, show yourself, and then they said thank you after the contact, right? So, and a lot of people do that, where after they make these contacts, you have to tell it thank you, because just to make sure that you're not an aggressive person or anything that's trying to harm them or them to harm you. You don't want any of that to come to you, right? And I know it's kind of strange me telling you this, but people do experience this, man. I'm telling you, they're experiencing these things, and we're seeing the data and the footage, and that's why I talked about the data, right? And there's one data that that a lot of us don't talk about in this day of age, and I think we should, because the data is of the ethnic backgrounds. That's what I've been in ufology for a good while now, right? I've been doing this for a long time. You know, and a lot of people say, well, they only abduct, you know, Caucasians, they only abduct blacks and Asians. No, man, no. There's a lot of people out there, but the problem is with that statement is that we don't have the data to back that up, right? So if you are filling out a form, if you ever have had contact with any extraterrestrial or UFO or craft, you know, if there's put your ethnicity in there, what you are, you know, it's kind of good for us as ufologists to collect this data because we want to know exactly, you know, if it's one way or another, or they just like, you know, but we still need this data, right? It's part of it. And that's one thing that you don't see out there is you're not going to have that data whatsoever. So I'm not going to say they take this certain people or these certain people. I can't say that. I can't give that a definite answer. There's just no freaking way because the data is not out there of who they are, you know, what their backgrounds are or anything like that. So we can't really point fingers at that general area, you know, of the actual contact, right? Of what kind of ethnicity you are, you know, your background, your ethnic, you know, are you native, you know, Caucasian, Asian, black, whatever. We need that data, man. So if you're out there and you have that, please give that data because it's very important for us to have that in the ufology community, right? Because it's just like they get data from the consensus, right? They have to have the data because they need to know, you know, what the demographics. We have to have demographics as well in ufology. Now, let me get back. So usually in contact, right, the ETs will manifest itself as either in form or in a orb, right? And this is what a lot of people don't get to see during a CE5 is the actual manifestation of a form, right? You always just see the orbs up in the sky, right? That people are getting after a CE5, which it's still contact, right? But I think what most people is they want to see this, right? And I don't know about you guys, but these little extraterrestrials, that they don't look very pretty, you know, and, you know, whether you want to make contact, that's up to you, right? You don't know which extraterrestrial you are going to be making contact with, right? And you don't know what the outcome is going to be afterwards. So kind of when you're doing this, just make sure you know what you're doing and what decisions you've made before and after, right? So, and that's up to you. You're a grown person. You're going to make this decision whether you're going to go forward or you're not. And you don't have to. And it's up to you, right? But the forms that it does manifest itself is going to be mainly in an orb. And that's basically what you start seeing in a lot of your photos and a lot of your videos. It's going to be orbs around the people when you're taking photos, right? And do take snapshots, not just video. Take snapshots. Snapshots are the best thing you can get on the evidence because you might catch something manifesting itself in a smoke or something in the background of people. We all saw that one famous photo from Dr. Greer and his CE5 contact session in Joshua Tree, right? So we saw the image of an extraterrestrial that was hovering over somebody's head, right? And kind of spooky, right? But it made itself known after the contact, right? So they do manifest themselves in these orbs or things like that. I'm going to show you one. This is from, it's called, I think it's called Skywatcher Explorer. You all need to follow this guy. Great footage that this guy has all the time. But he actually was doing one and he caught this orb up in the sky, red in color. Check this out. I'm going to show you this video here real quick.
There's anything up there, do show yourself by a flash. No way. Alright, the camera's picking. Let me shut the camera. Hang on. Can't see anything on the camera. I sure saw something then.
Wow. Now you can you can see that thing just come out of nowhere, right? And it's showing itself. I'm going to try to put it right. You see that? I'm going to go back and forth on the video just here a little bit so you can see it, how it comes back and forth. And this thing just appears as he's talking to it. He's asking it to manifest itself, right? And it does. It manifests itself between two stars and then it disappears, right? So, and this is what part of the CE5, I'm not going to say game is, but it's part of the process of what you're going to get. Maybe 90% of the time it's going to be that, right? You're going to get that kind of image or video data, right? Make sure you do the date, time, put all that in there, right? And for your own records as well, right? It's great to have those, all that information. But when you're doing these CE5s, with a group, now let's talk about that just a minute, right? So most CE5 events happen with a large group of people, and the only problem I see with this is that you have to be, really, you really have to make sure that everybody's on the same page with you, right? So, and I've talked about this over and over as out of all those people that are there doing the CE5 with you, maybe one of them is the one that's going to be making contact, not you. So you don't know if it's you that's making contact. So a lot of times these things are just attracted to one person, right? And they show themselves. You just happen to be there and watch it and witness it, right? And this is just my personal opinion of that, right? Now, the picture you're seeing here is an actual star that was up in the sky. And somebody took an actual still frame of that star, and it looks exactly like a face, right? Celestial being? Was it manifesting itself like in a star? I don't know. But it sure looks that way to me. And these are the outcomes, right, that you can have from these CE5 meditations with people and what you're trying to do to witness these events, right, that are unfolding in front of you. And, it's not for everybody, but, it can be. If you want to do it as a group, you want to make sure that you can connect and make sure that everybody's on the same page, right? The human connection, and I talked about this before, but traveling in the subconscious, right? Because basically that's what you're doing in a sense. You're kind of meditating in your subconscious level to make contact, right? So when you're in that state of mind, right, you're reaching out to contact. And if these celestial beings or interstellar beings or whatever they are, extraterrestrials, apparently they can still make contact with you thousands of miles away, right? Or hundreds of miles away, or maybe even more. Your frequency just travels on and on and on. As long as you make contact, right? And then we talked about the actual what attracts extraterrestrials to people, right? And what was the connection? The connection is, I just think we're all connected. We're all just kind of, we all kind of vibe the same in a sense, right? Because we are, and you know what the connection is really in reality? Consciousness, right? Because they are in a conscious state of mind as you are right now, right? Because right now you're conscious. They can be in that realm and they can be in the subconscious state, right? That's what makes them different and more, let's just say, advanced. They're able to tap into that deeper part of subconscious while being conscious, right? Subconscious while being conscious. Wouldn't that be amazing to do, right? If you could do that yourself. And I think how we're tapping into it is through meditation, because you're awake, really. You're not asleep. but you're trying to tap into that subconscious realm in order to make contact, right? And I kind of believe we're within that level of conscious and subconsciousness, right? In order to make that contact. That's, to me personally, this is my opinions, right? And I'm just kind of telling you how I think this is working and how it's happening, because it is happening to a lot of people. I've studied a lot of people, right? And usually after a lot of these people make contact with extraterrestrials, they jump into the spiritual realm. Things starts happening behind their in front of them. So when they're awake, right? It almost looks like a ghost or a spirit sometimes. But these extraterrestrials or celestial beings can actually be in two dimensions at the same time, right? So that's deep, right? If you really think about it. So when you're doing these CE5ers with all these people, right? You're actually putting yourself in that subconscious state while you're conscious, while you're still, coherent. But you're in a calm state of mind, right? And maybe that's how this contact is working out, because Dr. Greer has figured that out. Hey, man, he was part of the elite, man. He knew all these military people out there, and how to contact. He was in front of these things. So who would know better to do a CE5 than Dr. Greer, right? The man that invented this stuff. So just note that he's not full of crap. This guy was in the industrial complex, right? He worked for the government. He was working with the government. Knew everything about these extraterrestrials, things that were happening, right? And then wrote the book on it. Hello? Of how to do that, right? Love Beats Tone says they made contact and showed self and mind half human and a brain, huge head, and they smiled at me. I believe that. I believe that people actually experience these things as it's manifesting in front of you, even in dreams, man, even in freaking dreams. Because remember, in your dream, you're in that subconscious state. So I know I'm talking a little deep, a little heavy right now, and that's only because of what I'm saying right now, of the UFOs and the extraterrestrials and how to contact these things. And there's no other way to explain this, really, in reality, and for you to understand out there on how to do these things, right? Anybody can do these things if you're in the right state of mind, right? If you're open-minded, right? If you know your frequencies, right? You can channel all that resonance, use that 40 hertz. Use that for the first 20 minutes as you're meditating. It may help you, right? Once you get to your level where you need to be, then go forward, right? Don't forget about the solar distractions that we might have during your meditations, right? These things are expected to happen while this solar eclipse is taking place. I mean, me personally, I would probably do it before, because after the solar eclipse, you're going to have major solar flares, right? So these things are going to be happening. It's going to be harder to do a CE5, I believe, in other words, to try to make contact, right? So it kind of makes sense to you. Does it make sense? It makes sense to me to do it after or way before. Don't do it, well, not even after. Just kind of wait a day or two after until everything kind of really exposes itself and, our earthquakes are over and all that good stuff. Speaking of, we had one this morning. Did y'all hear about that? In New York, Philadelphia, man. They had a freaking earthquake there this morning. Strange indeed. What does that? I don't know, but they say this solar eclipse is going to have, it might pack a punch, all right? So kind of be prepared for that. I'm not trying to scare the crap out of you. Everybody else is doing that for me. But if you have any more, questions about this, download my book. It's real inexpensive on Kindle. Download the app, go check it out. It's only like 52 pages, man. Come on. Put that in your pocket. You can read that in 2 hours, 3 hours, get her done. And, you'll come out with a lot of knowledge on CE5 and what it is. This book actually breaks it down for you. Scientifically, frequencies, it gives you all the hertz, gives you where to go to your YouTube channels where you can download a lot of the music. You'll find all of this in this book. So go check it out. And if you do read my book, give me 4 stars, man. Give me not 4. Give me stars all the way across if you like it. Come on. It's just, it'll help it get out there to people. And that's my thing. I just want to help people, right? And if this might help you, and it might help you even as an abductee, I know it's kind of hard, to say that, but a lot of people that I've interviewed that have been abductees, they don't have very nice, interactions with these things, right? So they may not want to do these CE5s, which I understand wholeheartedly. Mostly everybody on my film, at least 80% of them has had a really bad experience with these things, right? And it gets deeper and darker as it goes, right? So it's just like I say sometimes, be careful what you wish for. Think good thoughts. Stay in a positive mode while you're doing this. Tell them thank you, appreciate you, and then I'll see you later. Things like that. Positive notes, so that way you're not left with a negative kind of feedback. If you can't, after you do these sessions, or hey, use some sage on you too, man. I believe in sage, man. I use it in my house. Hey, you have to sometimes, get that bad juju out. It happens. Things follow people, right? So, it's one of those things, man. It's either you're going to do it or you don't do it. But if you do it, hey, let me know how it turned out for you. Let me know how it turned out for you. Oh yeah, it says you can put it on Facebook so people can share it. No one knows you are writing. Yes, I sure will. I'll have links actually to my book and everything after this podcast. It'll be on the audio. It'll be on the video on YouTube. It'll be here as well. And like I said, they're staying out there, stay in a positive mood exactly when you're doing these CE5s. Now, they're not a scary thing. If you do make contact, great. Let me know how it went for you. I really like to know, if you do this. I've done 1 or 2 in my own backyard, just sitting there, just kind of calm, looking at the sky by myself. I had good, a good intention. So, and we do see some strange things, passing through the sky, right? And even though I wasn't listening to the music, you don't necessarily have to. It does help a lot. But I'm able to get in touch with myself as far as giving me that meditation within myself. I can do that for some reason. I don't know. Maybe I'm special. I don't know. But I can do that. Some people can't. Some people can't. Use the music. Music helps a lot. Use those frequencies, man. It'll help a lot. Thank you for sharing this podcast, and thank you for sharing my book out there if you did see it or you did download it. I appreciate it. Give me some feedback on that if you did like it. Like I said, the book's out there. I will be writing some more for you guys out there. I'll be not just talking about CE5s. I'm going to do other books as well, right, on extraterrestrials and encounters, things like that. It's part of the darker side, and then I'll give you the lighter ones too, right? So, and you'll get some on the history of everything, right? That's because everybody always wants to know the beginning, the middle, and what's going to be the end result, right? So those will come soon. Somebody's saying out there, I've been getting energy on my feet like they're vibrating. Yeah. You know what happens? I'm going to say this when somebody said that real quick. When you start getting some kind of vibration during a storm and you start feeling the hairs rise up on your arm, run your butt inside because you're fixing to get struck by lightning. They say that all the hairs stand up on your arms or even in your hair will stand up right before the lightning strike, right? So be careful. If there's no storms and you're getting tingles in your, hey, you might be making contact. But if there's storms in the area, Get your butt inside. Don't get zapped, all right? We already have a friend out there that has been zapped several times, right? And I'm sure it hurts really, really bad, all right? But till then, I hope you guys enjoyed today's podcast. Like I said, I'll put links to my book and everything that I talked about today. I hope you guys got a little information out of it. I really appreciate you guys for watching tonight and listening on the audio podcast. It just kind of it helps me know which direction I'm going, right? If I'm going in a good direction. And I think I am. But until then, don't forget to catch our movies, The Middle Part 2 on Amazon Prime. I'll let you know when that comes out. And then Part 3 is going to be right afterwards, all right? So I hope you guys have yourselves a good day. Have yourselves a good evening. And have yourselves a good night. Keep those frequencies going. Keep them going. CE5 Frequencies of Contact. Get my book on Kindle. We'll see you later. Bye now.
Strand Podcast.